Welcome, everybody. Great to have you here today, tuning into episode 2209 of the Cabral Concept. Excited to go through this show. We've talked a lot about autoimmune diseases of the body, and I'll explain why I'm saying it in two different syllables or two different words in just a moment. But I've talked a lot about autoimmune diseases, and especially on the weekend Cabral house calls. If you haven't tuned into those, that's real questions from our community that we've been answering over the past 6 years. And we've answered over 5,000 questions on those podcasts. Now, all of those are searchable. So you can go to stephencabral.com/podcast. You can type in lupus. You can type in rheumatoid arthritis. You can type in Hashimoto's. You can type in multiple sclerosis. You can type in psoriasis. You can type in any number of autoimmune issues that you'd like. You can actually type in any keyword that you'd like, and you'll be able to find it there for the most part. And if I haven't answered it, I will. And so that's the thing. I'm happy to do these shows. These shows, I want to be a running archive of what true integrative health is all about. It's not saying one form of medicine is better than the other. You know, if I don't look at Ayurvedic medicine and say it's better than bioregulatory medicine or traditional Chinese medicine or functional medicine or traditional naturopathy or any of these. I don't. I say each one of these has its own wisdom. And if we put the actual patient or wellness client before the actual form of medicine, that's the only form a person may practice, well, you've got a much better chance of helping someone get well. So if you understand integrative health and you don't say, oh, you don't play one form is better than another, well, again, you're going to be able to help many more people. So that's always the goal of the show. That's what I've learned. I mean, I only learned that by literally traveling around the world and trying to discover the best form of medicine. That was the whole point of my internships, was that I was actually going to work in these clinics and hospitals, and I was going to say, okay, whatever form of medicine works the best to help people get well, that's what I'll practice. And pretty much within 3 or 4 months, I already knew that there wasn't one best form. Now, I still continue with all my internships, of course, and I studied in India multiple times, Sri Lanka, China, Europe, and of course, all over the US. And it was through that experience that you can't just get from reading textbooks that I learned that everyone is able to get well, everybody, the worst of the worst, but not every form of medicine, single form, is going to help every single person every time. So that's what I realized. But everybody can get well. They may just need to borrow from multiple areas. And yes, sometimes that's conventional medicine for acute-based circumstances. For example, if you have a staph infection where you could be dead within 72 hours, you should probably get antibiotics or medical-based care. Now, for me, antibiotics I would never use personally unless I was literally dying. That's it. Because the repercussions of taking antibiotics are so severe for gut-based issues and destroying your own innate immunity that it's not worth it. Now, if you need to take them, you need to take them. Like, that's just the way that it is. If you had surgery, you may need to take them. So what do? Well, then you do something like a CBO finisher, which is rebuilding the gut, repopulated with good probiotics, but also with Saccharomyces boulardii through something like a clean gut probiotic or whatever it might be. So again, there are ways to do this, but what I'm saying is every form of medicine is necessary. Conventional medicine, your medical doctor are not better than integrative health practitioners. They're not. They're different, right? So everybody should have a medical doctor, but you better believe you should have someone that also practices true health caring, not just sick care. And that's extremely important because you're missing out on all the things that I'm going to be talking about here today. And namely, that's all autoimmune diseases and diseases in general are fixable. And why do I say that? Well, every single one of them has an underlying root cause. And regardless of your genetics, which is the typical excuse a medical doctor will give you, that does not mean that you have to have it. So for example, many people will get Hashimoto's. Many people will get rheumatoid arthritis. Many people get psoriasis and MS and many other issues. And they get it when they're in their teens, juvenile based, right? 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond, right? And a lot of people end up with them. Well over 60 million Americans alone. They'll never give you that stat, but when you look at the research, last time I checked, it was 55 million, and that was 3 years ago. Willing to guarantee it's gone way up, probably more than that, right? So that's an insane amount of people with an autoimmune issue. I mean, that's absolutely insane. This was not the case 100 years ago. So have people's genetics dramatically changed in 100 years? Of course not. You can't change your genes that quickly in 100 years. You just can't. That's not how the human body works. It does not happen that quickly. So what are we doing? What are we really looking at? Well, we're talking about the rain barrel effect, right? We're talking about what have we done? Everybody's looking for like the silver bullet. Oh, it was this, it was that. No, it was diet, exercise, stress, toxins, rest, emotions. Again, the supplements is just a different part to it, and mindset, right? So what are we looking at? Nutrition is deplorable right now. It's deplorable. It's all processed food, right? And all these plant-based foods that people are pretending are real foods are just as deplorable, right? I mean, they're not saving the planet, and they're not saving humanity. It's not real food, right? And I'm pro plant food. I think it's great, but you have to actually eat the plants, right? Can't get it made in a lab. The exercise, we don't move our bodies, right? Stress, we're more stressed than ever because we're locked into a computer screen all day long, right? What about toxins? Well, I wrote The Rain Barrel Effect 3 years ago. There's double the toxins now. There were 77,000 back then, right? There's over 140,000 right now. That's insane. 50% of those we know causes cancer. The other 50%, we have no idea. There's no long-term studies, and there's certainly no interactive-based studies, right? Emotional stress, well, look at the last 2 years, how intense that was. So you have to understand is there's more autoimmune issues because there's more issues that could disrupt the immune system. But let's look at it just still, again, another way. For all the people that say it's genetic, sure, a lot of us have it within our genes. I have rheumatoid arthritis in my genes. Both my parents, rheumatoid arthritis. All four of my grandparents, rheumatoid arthritis. I had rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis as 17-year-old. Well, it's been over 20 years now, and I don't have rheumatoid arthritis anymore. So why did I have it at 17? Now I didn't have it at 15, okay? Didn't have it at 16, had it at 17, let's say 18, 19, then didn't have it after that. So how did I get it? Then it went away. I didn't have it, I got it, and then it went away. Well, if it's part of my genes, right, it should just be there forever, right? And all the people like, well, it only turns on at a certain age. Okay, so mine turned on at 17. Why did it turn back off around 19, 20? Or somewhere around 20 years old or so. What was the difference, right? You have to understand that everything has an underlying root cause. And it's your epigenetics, which is the expression of your genes. Again, people are making too big a deal out of methylation. They're making too big a deal out of COMT. They're making too big a deal out of SOD and all the other genes. They all matter. But you can't pretend like they are the end-all, be-all and that you're going to get something. I've got all those too. My genes, not all that phenomenal, right? But I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm pain-free, plenty of energy, right? Like, so you can turn them on and off, but it's based on underlying root causes that work with your body. So we have to understand that. So I wanted to state that there, and now I wanted to share with you why it's not the message that you've been receiving is wrong. And it just continues to get updated by conventional medicine. But please, if you listen to natural health, you know that this has been the case all along. Do not wait. The only thing conventional medicine can do is put you on medication. That's it. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. But the truth is also this, that around 80% of people, that's what they want. They don't necessarily want to fix their nutrition, their exercise, their stress, their toxin removal, right? Their sleep. They don't necessarily want to do that. They would rather take a medication and go about their life. And that's okay, honestly. Honestly, there's no judgment at all on my part. I'm here to help the people who don't want that. If you don't want that, okay, well then let's work backwards. And again, your conventional medicine doctor is not going to be able to help you with that. Even though there's so many studies. I'm just going to give you one here today. And this is like a breakthrough study. I mean, this is for conventional medicine. This is breakthrough. It literally came out 2 weeks ago. And I just want to share it with you. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So it starts off with just talking about the Mediterranean diet. You may have heard me talk about the Mediterranean once or 100 times, maybe 200 times in the podcast, right? Maybe. People always try to come up with all sorts of different diet plans, and I'll be talking about that more tomorrow. All sorts of different plans. When again, you can have variations of a plan, but there's a reason why plans work. The Mediterranean diet is easy to find and contains nutrients that are known to enhance longevity and has other health benefits as backed by peer-reviewed scientific studies. Broccoli makes the list as it's one of nature's most nutrient-dense foods, with only 30 calories per cup. And it just goes on and talking about how it's anti-inflammatory, hunger curbing, has polyphenols, etc. Again, I did a podcast on it called the Only Anti-Cancer Diet, right? Not on broccoli, but on aspects of an anti-inflammatory diet. And then the article just goes on to say, but also what helps with autoimmune issues, right? Besides an anti-inflammatory plant-based diet. Now, again, you can eat meat. You can eat fish. We're not saying you can't, okay? So a lot of people they get defensive right away because when you talk about their diet and you talk about it in a way that makes it not the end-all be-all, people get defensive of that diet as if it's some type of dogma that they've been they have been conditioned to believe that it's the end-all be-all, right? But we have to be careful with that. Keep an open mind. Again, this is about overall health. It's not about my diet can, beat up your diet. That's not what this is about. It shouldn't be about that, hopefully. It's about helping each other and it's about helping yourself. Well, the article and the research goes on to say, taking vitamin D and fish oil supplements may help protect adults from developing autoimmune issues such as rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, thyroid disease, and polymyalgia rheumatica, as well as other inflammatory diseases that cause muscle pain and stiffness in the shoulders, hips, et cetera, new study finds. And I'll link up the studies. So I'm happy to do that. For everybody who likes to go deeper, you can head on over to stephencabral.com/2209. Okay, so basically it was people 50 and older taking 2,000 IUs of vitamin D3 for 5 years had a 22% lower rate of confirmed autoimmune issues. Again, this is many other people got benefit, but, again, these studies are huge, and they're not taking everybody into account, but they confirmed at least 22%. And this helped with, this was, again, done, Dr. Karen Kostenbatter out of Harvard Medical. She's in the Division of Rheumatology, Inflammation, and Immunity, and works also as the director of lupus, the lupus program at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. I mean, these are obviously top, universities and hospitals. So here they go on to say, well, the dosage of vitamin D at 2,000 IUs is 2 to 3 times the recommended dosage of vitamin D, which is 600 to 800 IUs a day. Now, again, why am I kind of saying it in a tongue-in-cheek manner? The reason is that we know in natural health that you want your levels not to just be at a 30. You want them to be between a 50 and a 70 on your blood work, right? And the way to do that is actually about 35 IUs per pound of body weight. So most adults actually need around 4,000 IUs, not 2,000. But again, 2,000 is better than nothing, right? Or it's better than 600, that's for sure. Why? Vitamin D is a massive component of regulating the immune system. I mean, it does well over 300 other things, but that's a big component of it. It helps with weight, helps with inflammation, it helps with metabolism, it helps with hormones, right? It's crucial. And when your levels are too low, because again, even during the summertime, people are slathering on sunscreen. So if you're slathering on sunscreen, well, hopefully it does not contain any of the cancer-causing ingredients, which most do. You want to find whether that's natural. Because again, you're trying to prevent cancer by slathering on the sunscreen, yet you're blocking yourself from absorbing vitamin D and you're putting on cancer-causing chemicals. Again, your dermatologist will never tell you this because they're only worried about protecting your skin and not developing melanomas, where we know that the two don't necessarily go hand in hand. You have to have a weakened immune system for that to happen in the first place as well. But again, and you don't want to get a burn. I'm never saying that you should burn your skin. But again, there are natural sunscreens as well, right? They contain zinc, non-nanoparticle oxide. I have recommendations for companies that I will use with my family if we're in the sun for an extended period of time. But for the most part, you want to get a little tan on your skin. And you don't have to get it on your face if you don't want to, if you're worried about the photosensitivity of the skin. But again, vitamin D is very important. So if you're not going to, we can't pretend like we can't get it at all, right? So we have to get it somehow, and supplementation is one way. And then it goes on to say that people have been taking vitamin D for at least 2 years. Prevention from autoimmune issues rose to 39%. I mean, that's remarkable. All they didn't have to eat a better diet. They didn't have to change things. They optimized their vitamin D. That's pretty wild. And that's in the published in the BMJ. I'll link that up. The previous one was from the NIH. Okay. So next up, the study also found a link between taking 1 gram of fish oil, omega-3s, and a reduction in autoimmune issues. And it said, let's see here, versus the placebo, it decreased, along with vitamin D, autoimmune issues by 30%. Just those alone. It's a pretty remarkable study. Let's see, it's done in over 25,871 men and women. This was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study, which is what you want, so that the researchers can't sway the results of the study. So what I also want to just be careful with is saying this, though. Okay, so conventional medicine could continue to deny the efficacy of nutritional supplements, but at the same time, don't wait, right? Don't wait, right, for the science, and I'm putting that in air quotes, to continue to catch up from what practitioners and clinicians already know, right? It's not out there for a decade before it's already in use. And the truth is these things have been done for a long time. What I do want to share with you is something else, though, that they're leading us to believe that then it's vitamin D and fish oil, a lack of, that causes autoimmune. This is not the case. This is not the case. So that's why I always want to keep things unbiased. Do I recommend omega-3s for most people in vitamin D? I do. I have a whole podcast on omega-3s, polyunsaturated fats, for all the people out there who believe that it's going to create massive oxidation in your body, et cetera, et cetera. There's podcasts on that. There's nuances to all of this, and you have to keep peeling back the onion so that you understand why these things are so clinically validated and why clinicians use them so much, so that, one person online saying that, oh, well, omega-3s are polyunsaturated fat, so that means they're unhealthy for you. Okay. Why? Right? Why? I know polyunsaturated fats are, especially when they're heated, but why the others? Well, why then are there over 10,000 plus studies showing all the benefits? So again, you have to understand the nuances behind it. But that's not the rant of today. What I really want to share with you is this. An autoimmune issue is not a lack of, necessarily, omega-3s or vitamin D. What it is an imbalanced immune system that typically goes because of an imbalanced lifestyle. Now, I'm not saying you've done anything wrong, but you may be under-exercising or over-exercising. An imbalanced diet, there might be too many inflammatory polyunsaturated fats or omega-6s in general, because again, polyunsaturated fats are often high in omega-6s. Why then would omega-3s be a different type of polyunsaturated fat? Because it's high in omega-3s, right? That's a huge difference that a lot of the so-called gurus out there somehow just overlook and lump all polyunsaturated fats together. But the truth of the matter is that I have many shows on autoimmune, and in my practice and many other clinicians' practice, we can tell you for the most part that the rheumatoid, psoriasis, Hashimoto's, MS, lupus, etc., comes from 3 main things. The main one is a gut-based imbalance. It could be parasites. It could be candida overgrowth, which is yeast. It could be bacterial imbalance, such as SIBO. It could be H. pylori. Now, all of that decreases your vitamin absorption. That's a big part of it. But really, a lot of it stems from not being able to properly digest your food, intestinal permeability, where proteins and bacteria are moving into the bloodstream, and it's setting off then an inflammatory cascade from the immune system, then attacking all those things that are coming into the bloodstream. Now, is the immune system messing up? Not really. Not really. You have intestinal permeability where all these foreign particles are moving into your bloodstream. What's your immune system supposed to do? Not attack it? That's not how your body was built. So that's one main way, for sure, of an autoimmune issue. The second is a lot of stress. I see it in my practice all the time. People can have intestinal permeability and be okay, not healthy for sure. But then when they add stress on top of it, there's the autoimmune issue. Why? Dysregulated cortisol that dysregulates other hormones as well. We won't talk about that today, such as DHEA, et cetera. Okay, and then the third part is toxicity. It is widely accepted now that the environment around us is wildly toxic. And so the more heavy metals or other pesticides, chemicals, et cetera, can affect our gut, can affect our liver, can affect the organs within our body. So what I implore you to do is if you have an autoimmune issue, supplements can be helpful. And I'm not saying not to take them. They are helpful. But if you can get to the underlying root cause, get to the bottom of it, run the big 5 labs if possible. If not, run at least the starter kit. And the starter kit is going to give you gut function, vitamins, minerals, etc. All of those can be found at stevencabral.com/labs. But you can also work with your local naturopathic doctor. You can work with your local integrative health practitioner. You don't have to work directly with us, but I want you to know you have options. Those options are not going to be available to you through your typical medical doctor unless they have postdoctoral work in this type of work or postdoctoral study in this type of work. So again, just spread the word. Just let people know there is an answer to autoimmune issues. I overcame mine. Millions and millions of people around the world have overcome theirs as well. Hopefully this has been helpful. I'll link everything up today at stevencabral.com/2209. And if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share this with anyone you believe it could serve.